a lot of times when the pain is subtle and never named, it can leave people questioning whether they're overreacting or just questioning themselves. So when someone finally hears this kind of pain is real and valid, what tends to shift for them internally, would you say?
So first, I think it takes a long time to get there, Samantha, because, and especially if it's a parent. I think even
Yes.
in romantic relationships, but especially when it's a parent, because there is I don't know any child in the world who's going to go around saying, "Oh, you know what, my parent is a narcissist," right? So, because children tend to blame themselves that there's
Yes.
something wrong with me. So, I think that journey of getting to that place where you can actually say, wow, yeah, this is messed up. My upbringing was messed up, or my parents did this, is a very slow and a very painful journey for everyone.
Hmm.
But I think when they come to that realization, again, I think it's so many emotions, because there's anger,
Yeah.
right? Why would you do that to me? There's grief, because there's a sense of loss of a childhood that they never had. There's also the ultimate loss of that relationship with the parent, because now they realize that uh, this is not changing. So it's that loss of hope, because
Mhm.
then they're probably carrying that hope that, oh, things might change, they might change.
Right.
They're like, someday he'll see me. And when that goes away, it's extremely painful. So I think as much as there's that sense of and I can't say relief, but it's the sense of understanding or compassion towards self, where you see that, okay, this is not you. I think the other part of it is the anger and the grief, and just
Yeah.
all of that, those emotions.
Because it can be really painful when like love and harm exist in the same relationship. So I definitely get that. And that creates like a lot of overlap that would just, tell a lot of people is just kind of grieving with the parent that you felt like you should have had versus the one you actually do a lot of the times, which makes it really tough.
Yes,
Because it feels like you're erasing the love or denying that it actually happened. It makes it really confusing.
yes,
So
yes.
yes, well, how do people begin to hold two truths, without feeling guilt and self-doubt for acknowledging the pain?
When they go through that journey of healing, it
Yeah.
becomes easier. It's not easy, but it becomes easier to
Yeah.
hold those two, truths for themselves, because the fact is that there was harm done to you.
Yeah.
And the fact is, there might still be a part of you that feels for your parents, right? Because it's so complex, because your parents are aging. You feel like, okay, you need to be there for them. So there's the child who feels an obligation or a duty towards the parents, but at the same time acknowledging that, okay, what happened there was not okay. So I think it comes with years of going on that healing journey, which starts really with the psychoeducation piece, right? Because you
Yeah.
have to first know what you even have to heal from. So once
Right.
that psychoeducation bit with, hopefully with a therapist, or, listening to things like that, where, wow, yeah,
Mhm.
this is kind of what happened to me. And then you begin to heal, and you decide what kind of a relationship you want to have with your parent, or you don't want to have. But it gives you, the strength to hold those different aspects or the different truths.
I think really people get really caught up on the guilt of it all, right? Of just like holding on to the guilt of like, okay, what are people gonna think and what a um
And
so yeah.
right, because it's not a thing to abandon your parents, or
Right.
to stop talking to your parents. And listen, I'll tell
Mhm.
you something else, Samantha. I think, what people need to understand is that when someone makes that decision that I am going to disengage from a family member, be it a parent, be it a sibling, that person has done a lot of thinking, because it's not an easy decision to make. This is not
Mhm.
somebody on a whim. Your family,
Right.
your parents, are probably the most like that's the relationship, that's the most profound relationship any of us are ever going to have in our lives.
Right.
So when somebody decides that I need to walk away from that, it's got to be years of questioning and shouldn't I, like, is there a way, but there's been a lot of that before that decision's reached.
Yeah, and I think it's just kind of allowing the person to honor the fact that it was a long time that you had to go through that decision. I think that's really important what you're saying, that recognizing that, because it's not something that just happened one day and you were like, that's it, right? And it's like little huge moments consistently.
Absolutely. And you know what? Expecting society to understand, I think it's a very
Right.
don't even share it. Share it with the people who you know are going to understand your journey and what you've been through to get to this point. But if someone's not shared with everyone, because society is always going to make you feel guilty, about, oh my gosh, how can you leave your parents? But whatever, but they're your parents. But you have to forget, like, maybe I've tried all that, and that's how I've gotten to this.
But also, when emotional responsibility silence or being the strong one becomes normal, the impact often is unseen, right? That often goes unseen. So over time, survival strategies get mistaken for personality traits, and real needs quietly just disappear. So why do you think these kinds of wounds are so easy to minimize even years later?
You mean by us or by people?
I think I think both, right? Like, I think we learn our own survival strategies that, and sometimes by, you're right, right? And sometimes it is mostly by us. We think that being guarded is survival, like is a personality trait, that I'm just a guarded person, when really because you had to growing up, right? And certain things. So it's just, uh, why does it get minimized, right?
Yes. I don't know if it gets minimized or it becomes your way of protecting yourself,
Yeah.
right? So,
Gotcha.
I mean, like I mean, in the case of my client who this book is about, you know, everything that she was doing with her husband, with her kids, was survival mechanisms. But she knew that it wasn't okay. That's why she
Right.
came to me, right? So
Yeah.
she came to see me. She came to fix herself. Like, there's something wrong. There's something is not right about how
Mhm.
or how I'm reacting to things. So that was an understanding, but it was so, since trauma lives in the body, when there was a trigger, like, when her husband was walking away because they were having an argument, and, he was walking away because he kind of needed time out. For her, it was such a strong trauma reaction that then that led to an outburst and all of that. But but she knew inherently that, oh my gosh, but he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Why am I doing all this? So I think, I'm not sure they minimize. I feel those like they are survival mechanisms, and for that emotional survival, and that's the way my body knows how to handle trauma. But I think over time, people, who want to, because there are people who are completely fine with the way they are, right? And then they might be a little narcissistic themselves, coming from these family systems. But then there are those who say, oh, what is going on? Like, there's something here, and I want to be able to be happy. I don't want to survive. I actually want to live my life. And then those are the ones who reach out for him.
Yeah.
Some minimize as much as it's either the justification of, okay, I'm behaving like that because, but again, those people have not done work on themselves. They have a very, limited understanding about self. Or like I said, there might be a little narcissism in them, where they don't want to acknowledge that there's something that they need to work on. But for a lot of people, they don't feel like, okay, even though this is something not okay.
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying, and definitely in a partner standpoint, but also like coming from a parent to a child, a lot of times, the feelings can get minimized. But you're right, like after a while, definitely have noticed that people definitely go into, okay, this isn't normal, or when they're out the house,
Yes.
a lot of the time. So
Yes. And then if you're a truth seer,
Mhm.
That you're seeing this, you're seeing all the patterns in your family. You may not label for them, you may not, so some people can see it even when they are in the family system. And yes, some see it when they're out of it.
So we just want to be able to let people know that both can be true, right? Like sometimes it takes a bit to be able to see it, but something in you is going to feel like something is off, or why is it that I'm
Yes,
saying how I feel and someone's getting so upset, right? Like why is it that my feelings don't matter in this space?
absolutely. And I'll tell you, Samantha, something. I've always, for the number of years I've worked with people, I've always explained to them that, you have an inner self, a value
Yes.
system, right?
Mhm.
And then you have a life that you're living.
Mhm.
And really, mental health, when people come in to see me, when there is discrepancy between what you know about yourself or what you feel, what that your life should be like, based on your value systems and what your life is actually like, that distance is what mental health is. That's where anxiety lives. That's where depression lives, right? So when they come in, if they're ready to do the work and explore a little bit, it's almost always that I'm doing this, but really, this is who I am. And, bridging that is a lot of work, with us therapists.
Absolutely. Just that self-awareness piece, that's something, there's a discrepancy here, right? And being able to just be kind of aware of that. That's so we're trying to see now like at how these wounds end up showing later, because experiences like this of course don't stay in childhood, right? They often show up later as self-doubt or people pleasing or constant need for reassurance, especially in close relationships. So is that something you commonly notice working with emotionally just complex family dynamics in general?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. This idea of people pleasing, in fact, I don't. So I have a client she was in a narcissistic relationship as a marriage, and now she has two sons, and so she came to see me because one of her sons she suspects is a narcissist. Okay. Um, when we started the work, she really came to me for the psychoeducation piece. Tasha, tell me, how do I deal with my son who's narcissistic, right? Um, but me being me, of course, I started over there and then, I dug a little deeper to her. And she realized that she basically was doing everything to please this narcissistic son of hers, right? So I don't think it only is people pleasing as on the outside. It could be I am now pleasing as a parent. I'm now even pleased, making sure that I'm pleasing my kids. So it's those wounds are very deep, and of course she came from a very chaotic uh, family system where her father uh, was narcissistic. So and then she had a husband, ex-husband, who was narcissistic. But it's so deep that yes, in addition, and super successful woman, super successful. I mean, she's done amazingly well for herself. She earns big bucks and all of that, and still finds herself completely helpless to pleasing her children.
I think we really talk about that. A lot of people don't, and how it can happen like with your kids and how things you're doing with your kids as well, and how that shows up when you're doing. So I think that is so important to even mention that, because no one really talks about just when it comes to the children acting in that way and noticing on what you're doing there and that people pleasing
Yes.
and doing different things like that. So that makes sense. And so it's so powerful. I'm so glad you said that, because there can be a lot of like realizing that healing doesn't require confrontation or blaming anyone. A lot of times, for many people, it begins much more quietly, just with awareness, right? With compassion and permission to trust what you feel. So, why is that kind of gentle beginning so important for long-term healing?
Okay, so let's talk about that. It's not. I don't think any healing is loud, right? Because it's so internal. You actually have to kind of shift that within to be able to. But we expect, so part of my journey with clients, um, because the other part of it is okay that that should we forgive? Okay, but I can only fully heal when I forgive. No, you don't need to. If you don't want to forgive, please don't forgive. You can heal.
Right.
Because forgiveness is also for yourself. If you don't need to forgive somebody for yourself, then don't, right? But healing is always going to be an internal thing. And if that process involves calling out what happened and calling out the person who did this to you, absolutely. I think that's very important. And there are parts of healing that also include anger. And I think that anger is very healthy in healing. So I think all of that is important. But it's not loud because it's an internal journey. This is not you going and wanting to confront somebody. If you want to, you can, but it doesn't require that. So really healing is very personal to the client who's sitting in front of us.
Absolutely. No, and it really is, because I think a lot of times that is a misconception that you have to be able to forgive the person and doing those things. And a lot of times we've done so much where it's right. And some people to even think about doing something like that. So the fact that you gave people like permission to know that's not the case, to be able to do the work within yourself matters so much. And I think that leads into just kind of allowing to rebuilding that self-trust, because after those types of relationships, it's really hard to start that trust for yourself and rebuild the self-trust to whether getting to something like that again, or trust yourself to know that, right, if it is a son or anything like that, okay, does that change the relationship dynamic, and being okay with that and trusting that it is okay to do those certain things. And like, I know that self-trust starts with these like small steady things that you start to do, and through listening to the body, honoring discomfort, and allowing boundaries to exist without trying to over-explain them in any way. So what helps people feel safe enough to start rebuilding trust in themselves?
I think understanding that, what happened to them, the history of what happened to them, that's a huge step in beginning build that self-trust. Samantha, what I've noticed is one of the biggest fears that people have, who come from, and little irony, but people who come from traumatic families, is the fear of being alone.
Yes.
Even though they have come from such chaotic and toxic environments, but their biggest fear is one of being alone. So I think, when we talk about self-trust, it's more than just, okay, I need to be okay with the, decisions that I make, but it's really that idea that I'm okay to be alone. If doesn't with me, I'm going to be okay. So that's kind of the journey. And the only way, I'm a big fan of IFS, so I'm really going to talk about this.
Yes.
Because that's what I use a lot. And I've the good fortune of interviewing Dr. Richard Schwartz for the book. But that journey, in IFS, where you become that person for yourself. Step. You see, because once I can give myself what it is that I'm looking for from others, where I'm scared that if they walk away, I don't know what's going to happen to me. So if I can give that to myself, that is a big, big, big factor to build that trust, that all compassion.
Right. So it's a little way like reparenting a little bit. Is that what kind of you in some way?
Similar, yes.
Okay.
And ISS does it beautifully. Because every aspect of IFS, especially the meditations, and when you go into when access exiles and stuff, and heal your exiles, that's how you do it, because you're really giving your little self what he or she needs. But you're the one who's giving it. You're not counting on something else from the outside. So my website, so it's drrachnabaksani.com. That's probably the best way, and that has all my contact information. You can follow me on social media. I do a lot of these things. with people,
Yes.
enthusiastic people like you. But I also do my own. I have my own YouTube channel, so you can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram. So it's Rachna Baksani Mirpuri, my full name, on Instagram and Facebook. But yes, otherwise, my website, drrachnabaksani.com, would give you all the information that you need.
Thank you again, as always, and take care, and everyone else, take care of yourself as you process conversation, and I will catch you next week.
Thank you.